My name is Monifa Bandele, and I'm the interim CEO of Time's Up. And today, President Biden released a Build Back Better framework. And it's a strong first step towards the critical, comprehensive investments working families and caregivers need. And we're going to hear about that today from a business leader and a caregiver and someone who calls herself a lifelong caregiver. At Time's Up, we believe that these investments must include childcare, home and community-based services, and paid and family medical leave, which still isn't in the package right now, but we're still fighting. Workers, caregivers, and especially women deserve the full range of protections and support. So today's announcement was really transformative. It was historic, and it has particular benefits to the health and well-being of Black, Brown, and immigrant communities, especially women and caregivers. So we're really looking forward to these transformative policies becoming a reality, becoming finalized. And we remain committed to fighting for the full care package, including paid, family, and medical leave. And now I think we have our guest ready to join. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. I was just talking about the breaking news that the Build Back Better framework was released. And while there's some amazing things in there, child care, elder care, there's definitely stuff around home and community services, we're still fighting for paid family leave in there. So I thought it was important that we have this conversation with you because you are an expert on both ends, both as being a caregiver and as running an essential business. This is an essential business based in Port St. Lucie, Florida, which provides child care and elder care, especially for individuals with disabilities. So we really honor you and that work that you're doing, especially during this pandemic. And Carol comes from a long line of caregivers. She says caregiving is in her blood. She watched her mother care for her children, Carol and her siblings, but also her mother's own siblings, including her brother, who suffered from a disability. So I want to jump right into your personal story and what makes you such an expert in the importance of the packages that we are fighting for right now.
So, as a nurse, nursing is my career of choice, and it was a natural path for me because I've watched my own mother care for her own siblings as well as us. She was one of the oldest of her siblings, and of course, naturally, those are the ones who would help out in the home. But aside from that, there were challenges with some of just caregiving in general, and her youngest brother had mental illness. She was always concerned about what was happening to him, what kind of services he needed, or that someone was taking care of in the family. So as those things evolved for me as, a caregiver, becoming a caregiver was easy. My own caregiving needs as far as my own children, looking back, my husband worked out of state. I had two girls, two beautiful girls that we were raising together, but I had the childcare responsibility and I also worked. And thank God I consider myself lucky because I did have grandma who could help out. But there were challenges because I do have a child with special needs as well. And so the struggle is always there. When she goes to school, what's happening there? If she had a bad morning when we were getting out of the house, how would that evolve over time, or during the day? And then looking back at whether or not I would be able to get home on time, could I kids into extracurricular activities just based on my schedules. So it was always a mishmash of pieces to help me make sure that my child or my children were taken care of. And I see that now with all parents that I come in contact with. There's always something. And then layered on top of that is caring for your aging parents. We have that now with my husband and his mom. So it's always a struggle.
We're like in the middle. We're caring for our parents, we're caring for our children, and we're caring for people with special needs in our communities. Well, you weren't just a leader in your family, which is amazing, And also being a nurse, you're also a leader in the business community. So you were one of the founding members of the Time's Up Care Economy Business Council, which has grown to be 340 plus businesses of all sizes across all industries, with a single mission to push forth reimagining care in the country and advertising for robust investments in the care infrastructure. What made you want to be a business leader amongst your peers and work across industries to like show your example to others?
So, having seen or having had a bird's eye view of what caregiving looks like from many perspectives, as a mom, as a nurse, as now a business leader, it makes sense for us to all place our collective voices on the table to make sure that we are all advocating for the things that we see. We see what's happening out here. We understand. And so we need to bring that expertise to help everyone understand what's going on and what the needs are. Having one perspective is just not enough. So you
Right.
all the perspectives to come to the table, and then we talk through how we're going to make sure that a care infrastructure or a care economy works for everybody that's part of it. And this affects everyone: women, it affects men, it affects other businesses out there, not just a care business. Because if you don't have workers that can come into work and their childcare needs are taken care of, you're going to have a worker that's unfocused, that can't get through their day because of childcare issues. We all have to address this together. This
Mhm.
is affects all of us. Yes, there are some disproportionate sectors, in this piece as far as Black and brown women, but at the end of the day, it affects all of us. Women want to be out there working.
Yeah.
And if we are able to provide childcare and elder care, more women will be out there working. And yes, you'll have the resource out there to grow the economy and do the things that we as Americans want to do to remain the leader in the world. But at this point, you have people leaving the workforce because they're dealing with childcare needs.
So you were not surprised that women lost over 5 million jobs just in the first 10 months of the pandemic. I mean, you basically are a frontline worker in the pandemic, because without that piece, that number would have even grown. And even though people have started to come back, it's still 2 million fewer women. And you talk about how that impacts everyone. I mean, our brilliance is needed in the workplace, right? We're
Yeah,
needed in science, we're needed in transportation, we're needed in engineering. And so if 2 million of us are missing, that hurts everybody.
it hurts everybody. And again, just looking at what happened just from the very beginning, we always knew that there was a precarious um, way the way we delivered healthcare was always sketchy at best as far as how women function doing everything else, including their childcare responsibilities. So women are expected to go out in the communities. They work the full-time jobs. They come home, they care for their kids, they care for their elderly parents, and they're doing all these other extracurricular activities. Those were their responsibilities. Of the 19th century or so, the expectations remain the same. They would be the caregivers. They would continue to be caregivers for their kids, and no real infrastructure was put in place to make sure that they could function doing everything. So women did it all. And now with the pandemic, it just pulled off this band this the dressing, pulled off a band-aid and left this gaping wound that showed us that this was not sustainable. There are so many pieces to the puzzle. You have people who are able to pay for childcare, but there's not enough resources out there. There's never enough resources put in financially, people skills, all of that put in to make sure that we're training good childcare workers or elderly care workers or disability care workers. We don't have enough resources and money to train them. So as small businesses, when we look at all the pieces that culminate during the pandemic, we always knew that this was an ongoing issue. It was bad before, It got worse in the pandemic and continued to be a challenge. And it's something that I am happy that we're talking about now, but it has to be addressed because this is not sustainable. People have their own childcare issues, and if they are career childcare workers or are healthcare workers, caregivers, whatever you want to call them, they also have their childcare issues.
That's
So
right.
as much as we look at what's going on out there, it's something that is a vicious cycle that's been affecting these workers over the years, and it has affected women disproportionately more than men.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I really want to underscore that point to everyone is that we kind of knew this gaping hole was there, and then the pandemic let everyone know what people like Carol, people like myself have known all of our lives, right? By watching the caregivers in our families and communities. How did the current structure affect your business? Like, how is it to be able to hire the staff that you need, train the staff that you need? You talked broadly, but like, how does it impact you directly?
So it's huge. It impacts your growth. It impacts your viability as a business. It impacts your credibility because when people come to you and they're asking you for help and you're not able to deliver that support or that help because you just don't have the resources to do it, it impacts. So small businesses, if we believe small businesses are the engine of our economy and our American society, we need to invest in those small businesses that are trying to deliver the help, deliver the work. We may want to make sure that we are hiring well. We want to make sure that people, when they come to us, feel like they can have a living wage. They're able to do what they need to do to care for their families. And because of the way this is structured, first of all, caregivers, they are not paid as well as they should. We
Right.
don't have that, we don't value them as much as we should value them in the sense that these are the people that are out there caring for our kids, caring for the statesmen and women in our society. Those are the people that taught us how to read, how to do all these things, and now
Mhm.
need our help. And those people are caring for them. And so, if we don't train these people well, if we don't give them good living wages so that they can continue to want to stay in some of these jobs or they want to continue on, the bottom line is there's just not enough there for us to keep this going and be sustainable. Caregivers don't get paid enough. Caregivers have their own challenges at home. There's not enough support for paid leave, for example. If someone gets sick,
Right.
who pays for them to be home with their families? There's just not enough in this structure to support a growing number of Black and brown women, and of course and women of all persuasion, because this is something that is needed in our economy and we have not put enough thought, we've not had the political will to make sure that this is something that we address. And I'm happy
Well,
on, but it's still something that we have to work through.
it is, it is. And thanks to your leadership and so many advocates and business leaders across the country, it is a new day. We're having a new conversation. We saw this morning a framework that did address childcare and elder care, that did address, home health and community services. But like you said towards the end, and we want to double down and underscore that, the third pillar in all of this is paid family leave. How important is having paid leave? Even though your business provides childcare, elder care, especially to people with special needs, how important is it to have that lever of paid family leave, not just for you, but for your workers and for also the clients for your business?
And everything we offer to our workers is about keeping them happy, keeping them viable in their own professional and personal lives. So if we are not paying attention to the things that affect them, then we're definitely doing them and the whole economy and the country a disservice. These people have their own challenges. Someone gets sick, a child is sick, and that throws everything off. And when that happens to a caregiver, it happens to the person they're also caring for because that person is left without a caregiver. So everything we do is connected, And we have to think about it in that perspective so that we're addressing everything as we go along. Paid leave would be huge because, again, it's about retention for a
Mm-hmm.
small business. We want to make sure that we're supporting all of our employees so that they know that whatever their needs are, if we're able to, we're going to try to provide for those needs as well. So having that is huge to ensure that people can continue to stay connected to their workforce. They don't have to fall out of their workforce because now they don't have childcare or something happens and they need to take a leave and they can't. So those are the challenges that I think when we look at how care infrastructure has to be, it has to have all the pieces in
Yeah.
place for us.
It has to have all the pieces. I mean, I can only imagine people saying, yay, this is great. We have childcare. But if I get sick or my kid gets sick, I don't want to send them to daycare sick. And without paid leave, then you fall into this other issue during a pandemic where people still have to choose between going to work versus staying home with a sick child, but then also making sure not to send a sick child into childcare, which can then, make everyone else sick. Like it's so interconnected. And that's the point that we're really trying to push on lawmakers. You really can't have one without the other.
You can't have one without the other. Everything is interconnected. Everything is part of this feast that we're looking to provide for everyone. And looking at just childcare and infrastructure and looking at caregiving and home and community-based services, all those pieces, they're so needed in our society. We have to make sure that our children, we feel confident that we're sending our children in spaces that they're well cared for, that people are trained, they understand. Same thing when we leave our loved ones at home. We want to make sure that people that are going out to see them have the training and the skills, and we want to make sure that we're paying attention. We have empathy for those people who are on,
Yes.
that we understand what their needs are, and we're trying to push to make sure that they get what they need as well. Because everything we do have to be selfless. We have to think about everybody. And
Yes.
in this space and at this time, I'm happy that there is a framework and there's something out there, and we have to continue fighting because we believe that once we are able to pay people more, we are able to train them better, we're able to create incentives in this space for caregivers, we'll do a better job of making sure that caregiving and the care economy is something that's robust, that's going to take us into the next generation.
Well, thank you so, so much, not only for being a model, for having a care business, which is essential to every single community. Like you said, it's not just one community. Every community needs childcare, elder care. We need caregivers to provide that essential support, just like we need roads and bridges and air traffic controllers. You are a part of that essential infrastructure. But also thank you for being an advocate and being a business leader, because sometimes when we fight for these things, we're told business leaders don't want it. And so we're here to tell you all, business leaders want it. Carol wants it. And
Yes.
she is joined by 350 plus other businesses that want these three pillars. So we cannot take our foot off the gas.
Yep.
We're still fighting. It's kind of like not over till it's over. This is one of those moments where you can see that ribbon and you actually have to go faster instead of slowing down.
Have to just keep going.
Got to keep
But we're
going.
grateful for where we are. We're happy that we're making some progress. We're going to continue fighting because this is important.
Thank you so much. Please come back again. I think we'll probably have to do it again once we see what comes out of the next couple of days. Maybe we'll have a short chat with you again to see how you're feeling about the gains that we've made.
And thank you for having me. I do appreciate that.
Okay, have a good day, and thank you everyone for joining this chat. This is Time's Up, discussing Care Can't Wait with one of our Care Economy Business Council leaders from Cicilys Cares. All
Thank
right, see everybody later. Bye.